from SAP, I should say. So
Karthi, he got disconnected. Let's just give it a minute for him to join back. Okay, so while he joins back, maybe I can continue as we speak. Thanks everyone for joining in. Enterprise threat detection in today's world is one of the most important things. We've heard so many stories of companies getting hacked, their customer data stolen, and the amount of negative publicity that it generates is significant. So significant that there have been times when the stock price of that particular said company has also taken a beating as well, just in case in point. So today we have Arndt. He's going to take us through how can we stop security breaches in today's SAP's business application. We'll also have another co-speaker that he will also kind of work with. And with that, I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself and take it away, Arndt.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Yes, as already said, welcome everybody to that joined our session here today. And yeah, as already said, cybersecurity attacks are highly important and they're on the news every other day, or at least several times during 1 week. And yeah, just let's quickly have a look at what we can do about this from the SAP end. So what types of cyber attacks do we see? What types of cyber attacks do we see towards SAP systems maybe? And then we can drill down a little bit into enterprise threat detection, have a live demo on enterprise threat detection. So we're going to have a quick look into the SAP environment, trigger some events there, do something suspicious in there, and then we can hop over into enterprise threat detection and see what has happened during our demo inside of the ETD system. And then I still have some more news for you as well, which is then about the enterprise threat detection as a managed service, which might be interesting for one or two of you as well, since we do get quite huge response already for that managed service that we can here provide on the business technology platform. So right, not losing so much time since we have a quite a compressed agenda. It's not looking that much, but it's only 4 points, but it's quite a little bit of information in there. And so let me just start right away. So I will try to have some minutes at the end for question and answers. If there are any urgent questions, just hop right into the call and just simply ask your question then. But just be aware of that that we have a recording ongoing for the session as well. So if you don't want this, then you have to then wait for the end of the session. So systems are under attack. Is that a question mark on a quote? What we do see on the news is actually two different types of attacks. We can separate this a little bit. So one is really attacking organizations on a basis, just somehow try to stop their business from operation and just try to get a ransom payment from that organization. That can be done via phishing, via malware, via ransomware attack. So there's or botnets or whatsoever. There's many different technologies or combination of technologies. That's pretty clear. But often the target is really just try to get some money out of an organization, or just compromise an organization in a way that they cannot proceed with their business. And then it's just for the fame and the glory with inside of the hacker community that somebody's been able to stop an organization from operating. The other things that we see on the news, and that concerns me a little bit more when looking towards the SAP system is when we see news that says isn't that amount of money or IP has been stolen from an organization, or sales information, or patient information, or whatsoever kind of information has been stolen from an organization. So, and if we quickly think about where does this information usually reside, yeah, for sure it's in a database, hopefully not somewhere hidden in the file system. So it is in a database. Often databases are quite good encrypted. It's pretty difficult to attack a database. So, and if we are successful with that, we end up with thousands of tables, millions of entries. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to work with that data then anyway. But how do organizations access this data in the database? Usually there's some application running on top of the database, and that's how organizations work with this data, which is inside of the database, so that there are processes and there's billing and financial services of an organization. They all work inside of this application or financial application. And this is exactly what SAP is doing with or providing to their customers for material management, production planning, and so on and so forth. So if I'm as a hacker are able or will be able to get into the systems, I will be able to have access to all the critical information of an organization. And as soon as I'm able to enter an SAP environment via a privileged user, via enhancing my authorizations within the SAP system, I can just walk in there and change anything in there, read everything in there, and then just simply try to walk away with that. Triggering a ransomware attack when I'm already inside of an SAP system. So that's what's been discussed in the news and in the forums as well. In my opinion, it sounds a little bit stupid for me, since when I am already inside of the SAP environment, I can just simply have a look at all the data, walk away with the data. So there's no need to try to get a ransom payment out of an organization, because I have all the data there, and then I can start selling this information. But still, maybe somebody is not able to interpret the data correctly, or just simply wants to have more out of this. It is still for sure possible to trigger a ransomware attack when you are already inside of an SAP system, but I think it's more the seldom case, and I haven't heard about this yet. But for sure, SAP systems are affected when a ransomware is triggered towards network, database layer, operational system layer. Then people just simply cannot access the SAP environment anymore. So organizations have to think about this as well. So having said that, no, actually, that was the slide we could have had a look on as well already earlier on, but we can skip this. SAP is helping the customers protecting the SAP environment in general with the SAP Secure Operations Map. So that's one of the older documents actually that we have, and what we can provide. It's just been reworked a couple of years ago, where we have now a stronger focus on the organization and the processes of an organization to protect the intelligent enterprise. So we start here on the organizational level with awareness, with security governance, and with a total all-over risk management, which has to be done for the SAP environment as well. But in my opinion, the key is awareness here. If a board and the employees of an organization are not aware, we will not be able to trigger or leverage the right processes throughout an organization, to have the right regulatory processes being set up, the right processes for data privacy and protection, and the right processes for audit and fraud management. And then only we can start talking about more and more about technology like user and identity management, single sign-on roles and authorizations, customer coding. Customers should protect the coding that they write themselves, as well as good as we as doing it from on the SAP end. And then for sure you would have to look for security hardening of the SAP S4 environment as well, get the configuration in a secure state, and patch your SAP systems as often as you can, because as soon as SAP releases a patch, there is an official kind of guidelines for hackers to infiltrate into an SAP environment if it's still unpatched. And then for sure you can start the security monitoring and forensics, and that's more the topic what we're going to talk about today with enterprise threat detection. So that is actually what we're describing with this tile here: security monitoring and forensic. So we have a solution here with enterprise threat detection that can collect all the event information from that huge SAP environment, like a CM solution would do it for the IT environment, but specialized to the needs of the SAP environment. And so we deliver content for this as well, and customers really use enterprise threat detection in addition to their standard CM solution. Having said that, supporting the intelligent enterprise and securing the intelligent enterprise is a little bit more than only looking at enterprise threat detection. So really protecting the intelligent enterprise, first of all, are people and processes. So if you don't have the right people, if you don't have the right processes, you will not be able to leverage the right technology. That applies to enterprise threat detection as well as to all other technologies. There's nothing within security that just simply runs out of the box and makes everything green tomorrow while just implementing a piece of software. There's still lots of work to be done when introducing security software to an organization. And then we really can talk about identity and access governance, data protection, privacy, cybersecurity. That's the area where we can find the threat management component in there as well. That's enterprise threat detection here. And all of this feed has to go into enterprise risk and compliance as well, for being able to quantify risks to the board level, to the CIO, to the CISO, and to make the risk in general more transparent to them, so they will be able to see that there is a risk for their organization, and then we'll be able to spend some money on this as well. So having said that, we just hop over to the cybersecurity compliance solutions from SAP based on the NIST cybersecurity framework. That's an exercise that we've done quite a while ago when we just started looking at the NIST cybersecurity framework of the columns of identify, protect, detect, response, and recover. And for sure, as an organization, you can apply this NIST cybersecurity framework as well to the SAP systems. And that's what organizations really should do, and start identifying where are my crown jewels, in which SAP environment, start doing a risk assessment here. And that's where already SAP technology then comes in, and where SAP technology can help to identify, protect, detect, response, and recover from any kinds of threats. So within the identification area, we do then see the early watch service, configuration, validation, system recommendations. So those are the green ones, which are standard tools that are delivered out of the box from SAP. They're already in the S4 license, so you can just simply use them. If you want to extend this, if you want to go to a higher security maturity level, you can then maybe start more focusing on focused run. Maybe then the ABAP test cockpit, which actually should be green here, is not enough anymore to check the custom code. Then you might go into the direction of the SAP Code Vulnerability Analyzer, have a look at SAP 45 by Micro Focus for all other coding languages that you might use. Introduce single sign-on to the organization, have a proper setup of user and identity management, the whole life cycle management of users. That you have to manage within an SAP environment, and have the access management, have data custodian. So where do you store the data? Maybe you can block access to data when somebody is accessing the data on database level, or then as well mask information in a single screen while using UI data protection, masking, and logging. So critical information is not being displayed to users. and use business integrity screening for any suspicious user behavior inside of business transactions. So maybe flip-flopping bank accounts and stuff like this can be detected with business integrity screening. And here within the detect and response columns, that's where we find enterprise threat detection. That's where we usually find the anomaly detection, the security monitoring, and all the information around any kinds of suspicious events in an organization or in an SAP environment. So this is what is being clearly described here by the NIST cybersecurity framework, and that's where enterprise threat detection perfectly fits in and as well helps you to respond to a cyber attack as well, since an organization would really have to think about how do I respond to a cyber attack as well here, and then being able to trigger the right actions here. All right, proceeding with this, going closer to enterprise threat detection. So enterprise threat detection is really actually a CM solution tailored to the needs of SAP S/4HANA environments or ECC environments to make any suspicious user behavior transparent, to see any kinds of anomalies inside of the business applications, and to identify and stop security breaches then in real time. And therefore, we have the HANA database underneath where we can just process huge amounts of data within that HANA database and analyze at the same time, and then come up with any kind of results about suspicious user behaviors or anomalies that we might be able to see inside of the S/4HANA environment. And then we can always go back to all log information. We can have a look at not a single puzzle piece, not a single event. We can enrich this information with all other information from all other logs that we have, and then get a full and a clear picture. Is this a threat to an SAP environment, or is this a false positive, or is this just a normal user behavior here? And so what we get then in the end is a security monitoring instance that works for the whole environment. But as well, we collect all the different types of logs that belong to the S/4HANA environment, and we centralize them. We make them readable. And so we save them, we normalize all these logs. And so audit can really work with enterprise threat detection as well. When an auditor comes to you and wants to see the security audit log or the change documents log from from your productive environment for December 2021, for instance, then you just simply can package it in enterprise threat detection and give it to him. As simple as that, within seconds, because you still have that data in reach and go there and just simply provide this information, and you can make sure that all these logs has been analyzed as well when they're coming into enterprise threat detection. And for sure, the benefits are threats can be detected. It safeguards the S/4HANA operation, reduces the effort for audits as well, because you can have your place to go to where you can easily access all this information. Again, you get the transparency about the user behavior in the SAP environment. You can process these huge amounts of logs information, and just simply customers can work on what they want to work on and don't have to care about so much of security, because all that analysis process is being automated by enterprise threat detection. When we look at, for instance, at the security audit log, a security audit log compliance, I often see companies that haven't even switched on the security audit log in their organization. So they are not compliant, so they're incompliant. Why is that? Because it is very often a kind of a complex configuration. It can cause performance problems. So the security audit log is very often filtered. If you ever try to read the security audit log yourself when it's been written to a file system, it's very, very difficult to read. It's not very friendly written in terms of readability. And you cannot really search because you would have to do a string search for whatever you would like to search. And that's quite resource consuming and time consuming. And this is then cannot be really used for any kind of audit purpose. And that all actually comes with enterprise threat detection, because enterprise threat detection has all this information, can process all this information, and we can store the security audit log in an audit safe way, so nobody can manipulate anything anymore. We don't have to do any additional configuration for the security audit log, because we just simply take the information from the S4 environment and just process it into the HANA database. And then all the security audit logs are available at any time. We continuously monitor everything, and it gets readable for humans as well. And so we are audit proof at any time. So this is only looking at the security audit log, which is a very small use case. For security reasons, we would not reduce the functionality usually to the security audit log monitoring within enterprise threat detection, because there is threats that not always can be seen only in the security audit log. So we would have to examine all other logs as well. And this is then the specialty of enterprise threat detection, because we bring in all the semantic understanding of all these different types of logs, and then can process this information there as well. And so then often the question arises, okay, well, but why don't do this with my generic CM solution? Okay, because there's several reasons for that. First of all, the data amount. Generic CM solutions are usually based, licenses based on data value. And the log events coming from an SAP environment can be quite huge, or the amount of log events can be quite huge. And that just leads to tremendous costs as well. And then it is the semantic understanding of all the different SAP logs. Only the security audit log can hold more than 3,000 different events. And you would have to program this into your CM solution to understand each and every single event and category for being able to process later on as well. And this has all actually been done within enterprise threat detection already, not only for the security audit log, but for all other logs as well. And so this is a huge gain that you can get. It is possible for sure to do it in your CM solution, but then you usually have security specialists sitting in front of your CM solutions who don't have an understanding of SAP, and that's then another hurdle for them. From enterprise threat detection, or within enterprise threat detection, we can then prejudge the information that is coming actually from the SAP environment, and then process this further into a CM solution, and then give the security guys the right understanding what is happening in the SAP environment. So enterprise threat detection actually comes with lots of content out of the box, can analyze these huge amounts of data. The license is based on the amount of users, not on the data volume. So whatever data volume you have, you can process it in enterprise threat detection. And so we bridge the gap between the IT infrastructure security and security guys and the application monitoring. And that's the huge gain the customer then gets for being able to secure their SAP environment as good as the IT or the rest of the IT environment. And this is exactly what we see when we look at the investments into IT security and application security. We do see a huge gap here, since all the money is being thrown into IT security, securing hubs, routers, switches, network, operational systems, databases, and so on and so forth. But hardly any company in the world is looking really to their SAP environment. And this is what they would have to invest and would have to look at as well. And that's where then enterprise threat detection helps really, really a lot. And this is how customers really use enterprise threat detection. They have their generic CM solutions like Curator, Splunk, ArcSight, or whatever you name them, and then combine the information with enterprise threat detection, which brings in the application layer from the NetWeaver basis, all the Java systems, and as well the HANA audit trail is being analyzed. And then this information can be combined with any other critical information collected by the generic CM solution. And that's when that's where the real business case grows for our customers here. All right, stepping forward, we already talked about the cybersecurity framework here from NIST. And so by the end of the day, we would then not only look at the standard products that I've mapped here, but all of the information from those products would have to go into an upper layer, into a security or into a cybersecurity dashboarding. And this is what we've been past 1.5 years as well with our cybersecurity dashboard based on the SAP Analytics Cloud. So where we can feed the information and even there then correlate and quantify risks within the security dashboard, supported by several products from SAP here. So how does an attack to an SAP environment works in general? Well, it's pretty the same as to an IT environment, in my opinion. So if we have the attacker on one hand, who has enough time, money, and a little bit of an intelligence, he will be able to breach through the wall of identifying all the issues for an SAP environment and protecting the SAP environment. So that's where we're talking about users and authorizations. That's where we talk about perimeter security, so configuration and ABAP coding and patching the system. A hacker will be able to breach through this wall at some stage, usually. And he's then able to stay 280 days inside of the organization. Nobody recognizes the attacker inside of the organization. And we do see that it is about 30% of a likelihood that this happens within a 2 years time. So after 6 years, you have a probability of 90%, something like this. So you can be pretty sure that an organization is already been breached, even if everybody says, no, nothing happened to us. So that's the statistics behind here. But looking at this 280 days, and this is where then enterprise threat detection focuses on, is trying to stop the security breach at an early point in time. So maybe here or here, but for sure not here or here where everything is being already seen by the attacker. That's where enterprise threat detection comes in to detect and respond to any kind of suspicious events and anomalies inside of this game here. And that stretches actually over a long time period, these 280 days, where enterprise threat detection starts collecting all the information. So we have a sample attack here, debugging of an employee or debugging of somebody who hijacked already an employee identity within the development system, and being able then to discover some SM59 connections, snatching some passwords from here, and then being able to log on to the quality assurance productive environment and start changing any vendors inside of the productive environment, and then maybe is being able to trigger any outgoing payments. So this attack actually stretches from 2020 to 2021, for example. But enterprise threat detection collects all the logs the whole time, even from the development system, the quality assurance system, and the productive system. So we have the evidence ready as soon as somebody tries to log on then maybe to the productive environment. Maybe we can stop him before that, but maybe we don't have enough evidence to really prove the suspicious user behavior and the purpose of attacking the system here as well. Right, so we've, oh my God, this PowerPoint has to be changed. 260 customers worldwide. No, this is not true anymore. That's quite outdated. We're getting close to 400 in the meantime. Many companies are listed that are using enterprise threat detection are listed in DAX 30, Dow 30. So that's outdated as well, because that's DAX 40 now. We changed this just a few weeks ago. And if you have any question about reference customers, we can help you with this as well. And enterprise threat detection, of course, is being supported by all the world leading auditing companies like Ernst & Young, KPMG, PwC, and so on and so forth. But there's many other companies supporting enterprise threat detection as well. So wherever you are in the world, you will always find an implementation partner that is as well supported by us and who has the knowledge about the implementation of enterprise threat detection and the operation of enterprise threat detection. Right, so how does enterprise threat detection actually work? So data arrives within enterprise threat detection. We start to enrich this information. We start to normalize this information. So we make this information readable and sort all the information into the right columns within our HANA database. So we separate each and every single value. So timestamp goes into column of timestamp, IP address goes to IP address, username goes to username, and so on and so forth. So we can later on search in a very, very highly efficient way on this data. And then we run on an automated base all the patterns, do the evaluation really in real time. As soon as the data arrives within the HANA database, we can integrate any kind of SAP information or event information, log information in here, but even non-SAP log information. So now often the question rises up, okay, can I introduce all my hubs, routers, switches, operational systems, databases in there too? Yes, you can, but usually that's where generic SIEM solutions have their turf kind of, because they bring in much more content to this than we do, because we focus on the SAP environment where other generic SIEM solutions don't bring any content with. And then we can start doing any kind of investigation, forensic analysis on that data, and so on and so forth. And just let me quickly check the time, and so we can proceed. Log data that is being supported at the moment with going from the system log via the security audit log, RFC gateway, user change log, so on and so forth for the NetWeaver and S4 log types. And we have all the Java logs, we have the HANA DB audit trail, and we have for sure have the SAP Cloud Platform in there. But there is more logs to become. There's more logs on the roadmap for enterprise threat detection, having the transport file analyzer, having the log change reader here, and the web dispatcher log, cloud connector logs. So we can introduce more and more all the cloud solutions from SAP, like Ariba, SuccessFactors, Concur. That's what we've been frequently asked. Problem at the moment actually is not that enterprise threat detection is not able for processing those logs. That is pretty simple via log learning. So every customer could do this themselves, or we could deliver this if those logs were available. But if they're not available, we cannot process them. So that's a Hagen problem here. So first of all, we just simply have to get the logs, and then we can deliver the right log learnings to our customers. Right, so what makes enterprise threat detection so unique? It is really the forensic analysis for all the SAP events. We can go for threat hunting like in any other generic SIEM solutions, but tailored to the needs of an application. And as well, we can do the same anomaly kind of detection we know from other generic SIEM solutions. And then we get all the SAP logs completely unfiltered, normalized in a readable format to be used by audit. And we can add any kinds of logs to the to enterprise threat detection, like the read access log, for example. where we can look at each and every single screen field and see that if a user manipulates any kind of information like salary information, things like that, and even add the UI logging log, which is even more enriched on information, and then we can continue with analyzing this information as well. And that's all being done manipulation safe. Based on a manipulation safe transfer from the SAP S4 environment into enterprise threat detection. So since we have a direct connection between the systems, so there's no file persistency in between. So we treat it via the kernel from the S4 environment directly into S4. And so nobody can usually tamper this information. So we can look at all different log types, not only looking at specific events. So we can always enlarge the view to what else did the user do within the last 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, depending. And then we're not fixed to any kind of test cases. We can dynamically configure new patterns within enterprise threat detection at any point in time. This we're going to see within the live demo later on as well. All right, so some use case samples here. Maybe we can skip this and follow up more towards the a small live demonstration. Hopefully my SAP system did not lock me out until now. So before I move this, yeah, that's what I thought. So we just have to quickly log on newly to our system. So that's where we can go, and then we can go into client 100, use the user Kirk, and log on with the password. And maybe we switch to English as well. So we have another 20 minutes, so we have to keep this quite short. So usually what I do for a demonstration, I usually go into transaction SU01 and have a look for the user firefighter in our environment, and just simply quickly enable the user firefighter. Let me just quickly look if he's already got roles and profiles assigned. Yeah, he's got already SAP all assigned. So maybe just to trigger one more event here, we just quickly delete this from his profile, save this, and then we can go back into the firefighter user and profiles and add again the sub all. So we do get some more. Oops, what did I do? Maintain the display user, maintain user. No profiles. I should be right here. SAP. Mistyped somehow, I guess. And then we can just simply unlock the user because that user was locked. And then we can just quickly, or have to give him a new password. I don't know, make it. So hopefully that worked. Now it must be identical, so I mistyped somewhere. That's better. So we have an initial password set for user firefighter, and now we log on with the user firefighter from the same terminal, which is quite suspicious since a firefighter scenario usually inherits that it is a different terminal. So somebody, the user Kirk in that case, is giving him more privileges when enabling the user firefighter, and that's already kind of a suspicious user behavior here. And then we can just simply log on with the user EN and have to for sure provide a new password. And okay, different one from the past. this already. That's a new one. And now we're in with user firefighter. Now we should start fighting the fire with inside the productive environment. And that's where we just, we just simply did now. And so very first step now after fighting the fire is maybe we'll switch off the security audit log within the environment, because now we don't want to leave any traces behind us. So we switch off the security audit log. That's pretty simple to do. So nobody will now recognize what we're doing in the SAP environment unless enterprise threat detection is attached to the system. And then maybe we can go to SE16, or we want to go to SE16, but transaction is locked. We just simply quickly unlock the transaction for being able to go in there, SE16. SE16 and locked, and now we can unlock the transaction. So that's already quite a suspicious user behavior here. And then going into SE16 USR02, maybe that's an appropriate table we would like to look at. So that's where we get all the users and B codes and password hashes from the users that are in our system. So maybe we just quickly go to our user firefighter. Where is he gone? There he is. And so that's where our password as well is being stored. So we just clipboard this quickly and go to user demo 10, for instance, and maybe we can go into that nice and fancy, great debugging mode here, and just quickly go into the debugger. Since the user firefighter has the authorization to debug, nobody will recognize my debugging since I switched off the security audit log. Pretty simple. And then we can go to edit here. And then I maybe will be able to quickly manipulate the password hash here and put in my password from the user firefighter. And that's database record saved successfully. And now we can then hop over to trying to log on with this user here again. 100, demo 10, I think I used. And this password is this password, and it's EN, and we are already able to log on to the system with the user demo 10 while just downloading and trying to shift the passwords from one user to another, or not downloading but replacing while debugging. Right, so that's a kind of an attack to an SAP environment. Maybe we just quickly go into a little bit more business-related function. So I just called transaction PA30, that's where all the personal records are in there. So this human resource area and persons on a process data. Okay, some of my colleagues are in the system as well, and maybe is working on that user account. So we just simply use personal number 2. Johanna, the employee, that's my employee record in the HR master data. And each time I do this demo, I just simply go to my basic payment. And during that, I can change my basic payment for another 100 Arabian dollars here. So I add very small amounts to my salary information, so nobody recognizes, and then I can just simply proceed with this in the system. And that's where I would just simply quickly like to hand over to Michael. Or Michael, are you still there, or should I proceed with the demo?
I'm there, so Yeah,
oh,
sorry.
Excellent, very good.
And I can for sure proceed with the demo in the SAP Enterprise Threat Detection area, where we see already the alerts popping up. Yeah, so that is what we can see, and I can go through that for a moment. Is okay?
Yep, please.
Okay. Then I will share my screen. You need to unshare.
Yeah, unshare. Yeah.
Unshare. Stop sharing. Okay, sorry.
All good.
So it makes it a little bit more interactive if Michael takes over for a minute or two, and maybe just give me another 3 minutes at the end, please.
Yeah, you can inform me 4 minutes before the end so that I have 1 minute to stop. All right. So we have this is our starting screen for SAP Enterprise Threat Detection, and for sure, when I am working as a security analyst, I might need to look at, for example, at our monitoring pages in order to find out what happens. So when I start my shift, let's say, then I would just look into what is the status currently. And I'm going into the monitoring tile, which I clicked on now, and check what is the current status. And yeah, okay, this is a general status, like how many log data arrived, out of which systems did arrive the log data, which kind of log data was it, oh, how many alerts have arrived during the last time, and you see something is not good there. But I know why. I created some generated data, and there by that a lot of alerts were arriving in the system, which are fake alerts. But nevertheless, this is one use case. We have a lot of we have some of such monitoring pages in place that we deliver, and you can create your own monitoring pages as well. And I will show that in a moment. So I would like to look at the alert statistics now, looking at how does the alert behavior how did it develop during the last time? And what I see here is, for example, the development of alerts during the last 3 hours. And there I can see about 3 hours before, there was a lot of alerts during my fake configuration, unfortunately. But you could say, okay, there was a real attack on the system. And now currently we have only a few high alerts and very high alerts somewhere. And I can even compare, for example, the alerts from today compared to tomorrow, or from yesterday. And
to tomorrow. That's cool.
Yeah, tomorrow is cool. Yeah. So we are still working at that functionality. But you will see, so by that we can compare that, and we see as well out of which systems did the alerts arrive, etc. So that is the first functionality that we can see. And the other thing is I can already see something that that happened as the number of, or just as the description of the alerts. And we just go then from 10,000 meters to 1,000 meters height. Yeah. And here you see, for example, there was a debugging in a critical system. Yeah, there was critical function modules, so critical functionality in an SAP system called. There, HR data of a critical personal ID was viewed. Yeah, so that is exactly what Arndt did. He was looking into the HR system. Yeah, and we get maybe some more failed log on with too many log on attempts. So lots of things that happened during the last hour in that system. And now we would like to look at a more detailed view. Yeah, so that is my overview monitoring, but I can as well go to the overview of all the alerts that happened. And I have a tile here, which has the name Threat Situation Last Hour. Let's look into that for a moment, because this is the 1,000 meters view, or whatever, 1,000 feet view, I don't know. By that, I can look into a graphical mode, or via a graphical mode, how these alerts belong together. Which system, via which alerts, via which user IDs or end user machine IDs belong together. And that is exactly what you see here. You see here, for example, the bigger these bubbles, the more these systems or these entities are involved in critical alerts or in critical aspects. And here you see, for example, an end user machine ID. This is a real one. it's Arndt's end user machine ID, as far as I know. You can look into your end user machine ID. And I see the most of the attacks, because this is as well a big bubble here or a big circle, happened in S4H100, which is exactly that, that system where you did the attack. And we can look at now the alerts, which are shown via these puzzle pieces here, and look at what happens all there. And by that, I can look at each and any of these in detail, by the way, but just let's look at that. Debugging in systems assigned to critical roles. So a debugging session took place, even maybe in a product, as it is in a productive system. Critical transactions were called in that system. HR critical person IDs were viewed at. There is a we can aggregate patterns or alerts via additional alerts. So we can create alerts on alerts, and then we can create so-called super patterns. This is a demo that we could show, for example. Security audit log switched off. Yeah, so Arndt, you did a change of the security audit log settings there. HR data of critical person ID was viewed. So we see a lot of use cases. User log on success from different terminal IDs. So why is a user logging on from different terminal ID 1 and at the same time from terminal ID 2? So that is maybe the questions. I can refresh that and look at whether we have further alerts. And what I now can do, I can jump to the list of alerts in order to find out what exactly happened. And by that, I'm just looking into the alerts list here, which gives exactly the same information. Sorry, I could have jumped to the alerts list via jumping between the graphical view and the list view. But nevertheless, so I would like to look at the open alerts, not at test alerts. So we have the possibility to create test alerts, by the way. If you create new use cases, you are still not sure whether these use cases are working correctly. And by that, you can mark them as a test alert until when you create your own use cases, this use case is functioning. And then you can see, okay, security audit log switched off, for example. And this is one alert, yeah. And what you see here is already, this was done by this user pseudonym. And later on we can, so we have a user pseudonymization for data privacy reasons. And we can later on resolve that user. I put that into the, somewhere into a memory, and I can look into each and any event that triggered that alert. So I can jump to that alert. Now I jump to the alert, and there I get some more information, like I get the same information. It happened in S4H100. It was via this end user machine ID, and this user was doing that, and it switched off the security audit log. Nevertheless, so we can look at later on that the security audit log still arrives because we have our immediate log transfer API switched on. So we do not care about whether this persistency is switched on or off. And we can look at now the triggering events. I go into that one event that triggered that alert. And now can look at each and any detail. So that was the triggering alert. It was security audit log of an SAP system. It was this event, this technical event ID that we translated to audit log switched off. There we have, it happened in that system. It was that user ID. It was at this timestamp. It was a certain additional explanation as we have it in the system. We get the information of the application server. We get the information of the end user machine ID. We get an additional application server information there, the real host name of that thing. And that is exactly, so you can, and that is all what we normalized out of that event. So we have 180 different normalized events. And these can be shown here as we normalize them. The original data for that looks like this came out of the SAP system. So this is rather more difficult to interpret, by the way. Yeah, and that is exactly what is difficult if it comes to a transfer of log data to CM systems. This needs to be interpreted in that way so that you have an additional value. And this value is not there because yeah, this is manual work in a CM system. Okay, so I wanted to show that, and then I can do a very deep dive into each and any data. And for that, we have the so-called forensic lab. And I go to the forensic lab right now. So if looking at the forensic lab, I can go to the, I can go to the home button here. And then I see the button Forensic Lab, and I just opened that Forensic Lab some time ago, looking at that data. And then I see already that there were a lot of data the last 15 minutes or the last 1 hour maybe, where we can look at very exactly. So what do we see? We see out of which data did that come, which log events that did arrive during that time, and we translated them to a semantic events. Yeah, and then I can really do a demo on so which users were involved, and I can just, this is a preview. Yeah, I can just look into what attributes we have there and on which we normalize, and I can for sure look at which users were acting there. Yeah, so let's check that. But I don't see any user firefighter right now. I know why. So, as said, I mentioned this user already that that we have distincted. Yeah. So this guy, let's filter on what did this guy do, and we can look into we can resolve that user. I will resolve that user right now. There we have a resolve user identity, just in order to find out which user it was. Put it in here, and I find out it was user firefighter. So user firefighter did a critical thing, and now we can do a forensic deep dive in what user firefighter did all. Yeah. So by that I can just select on that user. Here it is. And if I add that to the filter path, then I see all the events that were done via that user. And there I can see, okay, he did user debugging, he did a user debug and variable alter, he did access to data that is critical to access. And now I can go into each and any detail. I add that to the filtering path now. And I see data monitored, data access 7 times, and look into that in a very detailed way. So by that, I'm checking other attributes that are there, and that comes out of read access log. So parameter name. What was accessed there? Oh, there was a salary change done, yeah, and a personal ID was looked at. And now I can really select on the personal ID that was looked at and look into which personal ID was really looked at. And by that, I can look at parameter value. And I see, so parameter number, employee number 2 was selected, and the personal ID of employee number 2 was looked at, and maybe other things as well. So by that, I can do a deep dive into each and any of these events in a very detailed way and find out what all did that user do. Yeah, so I can look into these 73 events now, create a list out of that.
Log on to my enterprise
and find out what all happened. So I get a complete list of what that user did, and I then can select that. I can download that as evidences, etc., etc.
Right, Michael. I think I have to stop here.
Right. So, but that was just a very short demo. Sorry for running out of time. But nevertheless, I think we showed we can go from 1,000 meters or from 10,000 meters to 1,000 meters to very detailed, to 0 meters depth, and get all the details out of the logs as we need them.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Can you just quickly unshare, and yes, I can try to share again my screen and just finalize the session, since we're about to run out of time. So we are 1 minute over already, but thanks, Michael. That's very interesting. Just to finalize this a little bit, with enterprise threat detection actually has been a very, very successful product in the market. So there's about 400 organizations using this worldwide. But problematic is always, or kind of the feedback was in the past, that organizations are a little bit struggling to get the right people to do this kind of monitoring Michael just showed us. And we just recently came up with a solution to this, which is a new version actually of Enterprise Threat Detection, which is the version of Enterprise Threat Detection Cloud Edition. Mm-hmm. So Enterprise Threat Detection can not only be now installed on premise, it can be now be installed on the business technology platform from SAP and be run and executed there in the public cloud. So you just simply connect all your SAP systems via a log collector to this Enterprise Threat Detection edition in the cloud. And then SAP does the monitoring for you on a 24/7 basis. We're checking all of the events with around about 60 standard patterns. So that's what we deliver within the basics package. You get an alert as soon as something suspicious happens, a little bit based on how much workload the team has at that moment. So we cannot guarantee any availability levels here, sorry for that, and do that on a risk-based and a prioritized base. So as soon as possible, but that can maybe take a little time. And at the moment, we're having this in a German data center, the service provisioning in the EU, language is English, but we can also extend this as soon as it is required to any other service center worldwide. And then customers can as well consume the extended services with committed response times, with individual adaptation of all the security analysis, and with customized service level agreements, which means as well with customer patterns, with customer threat hunting, with all kinds of forensic analysis that you would like to do within the extended service. But for sure, this cannot be packaged in a basis service because each and every single customer is then a little bit different. And that's the areas that we then cover with enterprise threat detection in the basis environment or within the basis service. So it's access to sensitive information, critical system configuration changes, user privileged account handling here, critical system communication, and user lock-in management. So that is already within the basis package, and that's where you can have then more functionality even in the future and on demand as a customer. So this is where I would like to finish the session. So if you have any other questions, come back to Michael or to myself. We're always happy to help you with questions here, or you can talk to your AEs or pre-sales guys. And then we can proceed if you have any questions. You can find more information on our community space there as well about enterprise threat detection. I hope you enjoyed the session. Maybe you have another question, just put it into the chat because we're running out of time a little bit here, and then we will still be able to answer this. All right, so handing back to
I'm back. Yeah.
Yes.
Karthik here.
Karthik, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much. And so that was really, really informative. And the demo is what makes the difference of understanding a solution like SAP Enterprise Threat Detection. So quickly, we can give a minute if in case any questions which need to be answered by Anna or Michael. You are good to open that up at least for a minute.
Yes, we are. I was not sure if the audience is still available.
Okay. Fine. Fine then. And so thank you so much for that excellent presentation from you. And
so Karthi, just
yes.
Karthi, let's just wait for a minute. There are still about 10-12 people in the call.
Okay.
If anyone has any question for the speakers or for us, you can ask now. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you can post these questions on the WhatsApp group that we have, and maybe Karthi can answer them, or if he needs support from speakers, he can get that answered by the speakers and answer those queries on the WhatsApp group as well.
Hi, Mukesh.
Yeah.
Mukesh, Atul here.
Yeah, go on.
Could you please arrange this presentation?
Yes, you will. I'm assuming the presentation will be shared by the speakers to Karthi, and Karthi can share it with you.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Any further questions? If not, then Karthi, we can then close the session.
Okay, thanks, Mukesh. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Michael. Thanks so much for your time. Yeah,
You're welcome.
you. Yeah,
bye.
Bye-bye.